I welcome all the speakers. Welcome Dr. John Chen from Beijing, China. Then we have Praveen Saunke from Chandigarh. We have Dr. Parthiban from Coimbatore. We have Dr. Sushil Patkar from Pune, Dr. Sumit Pawar from Mumbai, and of course, I am also from Mumbai. I sincerely hope that you all will be enjoying this webinar on a very important topic of CVJ. Let us start this. And first, I will request Dr. Sumit Pawar to start the deliberations. Dr. Sumit Pawar, please.
I will be speaking on the genesis of instability in the C1 C2 joint. Why are we dealing with so many instabilities in this particular joint? So I'll just straight away go to the anatomy. This is a C1 vertebra in different views. The atlas, you can see the superior articular process of atlas, which holds the occipital condyle. It is nice and deep. It has concavity in every direction so that the occipital condyle will fit nicely into it. But look at the inferior one. It's just a plain, shallow surface. There's no curvature to it. There is no bony protrusion. There is nothing over here which is going to be supportive for the articulation. Compare with the superior one over here again. The superior articular facet and the inferior one. Inferior one is going to be attached to the C2. Look at C2. On the shoulders of the C2 vertebra, the C1 is going to be sitting. And what does C2 have? Its attributes, even more sloping joint. The C1 is going to sit over here. It's going to allow the rotation. The 50% of the movement is going to occur at C1, C2 joint for the no movement. And for that, it's a gliding joint, very, very shallow. There is no depth in it. There is no bony structure which is going to prevent its excessive abnormal movement. Same can be seen on this other pictures. So we have this C1 with a very shallow joint sitting on a C2, even more shallow. Let us look at the joint of C1, C2 in humans. C1, C2 joint is extremely unique in all vertebrae. It does not have intervertebral disc. The point of contact between this vertebra is only the facet joint, the C1, C2 joint. So the entire weight is being borne by the facet joints of the C1. It's being transferred to the C2 over here. There is no other disc which is going to be holding the weight over there. Another point of contact is where the odontoid is getting attached to the anterior arch of atlas. That's fine. That's again a very supportive joint. It's not going to be carrying any weight whatsoever. So this is a unique structure that we are seeing. Only facet joint, no intervertebral disc. There is ligamental support is going to hold in place. Compare it to any other subaxial cervical spine, a big disc, small facets. Further compare it with the lumbar vertebra, huge disc surface, small facet. And in C1, C2 joint, it's only the facet joint over here, which is going to be held by capsules. And we have this odontoid attached to the anterior arch of atlas. There is no structure which is going to prevent the backward movement of odontoid, or you can say the forward movement of C1 over C2, except a ligament over here, which is a transverse ligament, which you'll be seeing over here. So bone-wise, we have only limitation of the posterior slippage of C1 because of the physical attributes of the dens. Otherwise, there is nothing which is going to prevent the movement bone-wise. Now let us see what we have in ligaments. We have this transverse ligament, which is holding the odontoid in position nicely. We have the alar ligaments, the apical ligament, which is holding the dens to the basiocciput. So this strong, nice transverse ligament is holding the odontoid in this canal, which is not going to allow the movement of dens into the area where spinal cord is present. Very important. So any damage to this structure, we are going to be in big problem. Same thing can be seen over here. I'm highlighting two parts over here. There is nothing to limit no bony structure limiting the abnormal movement of C1 over C2. Dens is there, which is going to prevent the posterior translation of atlas over axis. And you can imagine, this is the ligament over here that we're going to think of. If ligament is broken, we have a problem. If this bone is broken and the ligament is intact, this entire structure is going to move like one piece, including the dens, and this entire C1 with odontoid is going to move abnormally over C2. These two things, I hope we are very clear about this. Dr. Atul Goyal in 2011 had a nice study presented where he compared the osseous anatomy of CVJ in tiger, horse, deer, and humans. It was a very nice topic. Dr. Ramani asked me to go more into detail of this anomaly. And this is what I found. Atlantoaxial instability is common in toy pet dogs. So toy pet dogs are the variety of pet dogs that you have in your apartments. A small dog, like a Chihuahua or a Lhasa or a Pomeranian. They are uncommon in big dogs, the atlantoaxial instability. Atlantoaxial instability is extremely uncommon in cats. There is this comparative study of the atlantoaxial joint of a horse, cow, and a dog. The study was published in 2017 in Veterinary Journal. The goal of the study was to compare the anatomy between different species and to compare the role of stabilizing ligaments in the atlantoaxial joint. Very, very interesting finding. The range of movement was significantly increased after transection of the ligament only in canine species. When you read the whole article, you'll come to know that the bovine, that is a cow, and the horse, when they cut the ligament, it didn't have significant increase in the range of movement. So the bony structures were there to prevent the abnormal movement of the C1 and C2 joint. So ligamental stability and tightness is important in canine, humans, and we'll see what other species. Why? See this bovine species or a bison. We are using C1, C2 joint to hold the weight of my head only. A bison is going to use it for fighting as well. It's an evolutionary trend for them. This is their defense mechanism. They're going to have another 500 kilos bison going to come and dash it. So the joint needs to be very, very strong. Evolution-wise, any bison or a bovine species, when attacked by a big cat, they don't go for the neck, the cervical spine, and they don't attempt to break it. It's not possible. You'll see in some time why. They will try to choke hold the windpipe and choke it till it is dead. It won't try to break the cervical spine. As against a deer, a goat, and these big animals, they try to only break the cervical spine. That's enough for them. Why is it like that? So you all know I'm interested in 3D models. This is a 3D model of a bison. A CT scan was done and it was scanned by Idaho Museum. Just look at the cervical orientation over here. This is a C1. This is a C2 vertebra. The C1 vertebra, the transverse process has a big overhanging part of bone over here, which is going to prevent the lateral dislocation. The C2 arch is going big time over the C1 arch. It's going to prevent the movement of the abnormal movement of the C1 because another bison is going to hit from here. So it's not so easily going to be dislocated. You see from other view, there is a big notch of bone over here over the C2 superior articular process. A notch over here, this big spinous process over here. These all attributes are going to stabilize the C1, C2 joint in a very, very significant way. You compare that with the cervical spine of a mountain goat. Mountain goat is significantly much like us. It's just a slippery joint over here with a nice rounded C1 facet. There is no attribute to it which is going to significantly prevent the bony dislocation over here. So again, in a goat, the major stabilizing factor is a ligament. On the other extreme, beyond humans, is cervical spine of a bird. They have multiple vertebrae. They don't have 7 cervical vertebrae. And look at this cervical spine. This is a C1 arch. This is a C1 arch, much like us in humans. This is a large C2 vertebra. The C1 and C2, this is a live bird. It's not a dead bird. It's not a dislocated bird. This is a normal, standard bone, a bird that has been scanned, look at the distance between the two facet joints. It's total ligamental support, cartilaginous support. It's a bird that's going to fly. It cannot have too much bone over there. It needs movement. So the joint is looking like it is dislocated, but this is a normal joint of a bird. So we understand what Dr. Goel always tells in his speech, the comparative anatomy. A lion is difficult. You cannot break the neck of a lion very easily because of the posterior musculature and the bony support. Whereas that of a bird, it's already dislocated for the matter. This is the standard bone that I'm comparing over here. Small, dense, big body, and the bony overhangs that we have. Humans, not so much. Dr. Patkar will be happy to know this is a C1, C2 dislocation of that of a dog. They have done anterior fixation. Anterior fixation correction is standard of care in all veterinary sciences. They have tried everything from posterior. They have not found success, and anterior is an accepted method of fusion. They put a large piece of PMMA and then they fix with the screws over here. It can be helping us as a translational medicine. We are translating the veterinary science to our human study. This video is the sad nature of a C1, C2 joint in humans. It's extremely mobile. There is nothing that is going to prevent the movement in us except for this one transverse and nothing else. So any reason why if the ligament is unstable, ligament is lax, ligament is broken, we are going to deal with instability. I hope this is very clear. So to very shortly tell the genesis causes of atlantoaxial dislocation, you can have traumatic, inflammatory, idiopathic or congenital causes. In traumatic, quite rare, not so common, there has to be some predisposing factor to it. Injury to the transverse ligament is broken, it can dislodge. If a bony, there's a type 2 fracture of odontoid. If there's a fracture over here, like I said some time back, it can move completely. Os odontoideum can move. It's thought to be congenital or due to an early traumatic injury, and it forms an independent vesicle. There are many congenital causes. All of them are causing due to hypoplasia of dens or ligamental laxity. These two factors are going to be there in almost every single case. If you have occipitalization of atlas or C2, C3 fusion, it's going to act as an adjacent segment degeneration at C1, C2 hypermobile joint. And again, going to cause the same thing. Inflammatory RA, now quite uncommon because of the good DMARDs. To conclude, human C1, C2 joint has a comparatively poor bony structural support. Inherently, in C1, C2 joint stability, the bovine is most stronger bone-wise than equine, than canine, than human, than birds. Ligamental support is paramount important in humans. Any condition causing increase in ligamental laxity, ligamental rupture, or separation of odontoid from the C2 body is the genesis of instability in C1, C2 joint. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Sumit Pawar, for finishing your lecture in time. It was very, very illustrative, very informative, and very interesting. I was personally very impressed, and I'm sure the viewers also must be very impressed with your lecture.
So I think we have had some excellent presentations, and Sumit, your presentation was, I would say, one of the best presentations I've seen.